Welcome to the Latin America Trade Observatory episode 1. I'm so happy to have you here back. And first of all, I want to appreciate your help and your support during the launching of LATO to all my friends behind the camera supporting me. It means a lot to me. That said, we will initiate with some topics that I find important during this week, and I hope it's useful for you. First of all, you have to prepare and make sure that Golden Week starts from October 1st to October 7th. It's the most important holiday or one of the two most important holidays in China. The other holiday that you have to be very aware of is the Chinese New Year. So let's say that there is two windows during the whole year that trade has to be managed in a special way. First of all, Chinese New Year, which is never in a fixed date. It's normally in the new moon of Aquarius, by the way. And the second very important holiday is the national holiday, which is the from October 1st to October 7th. In my experience during living in China, I have been observing that those years factories shut down, banks, all the trade, even restaurants. Some of them, of course, remain open. So a lot of people go back home. In China, there is a lot of workers or employees living in the coast, which means in the ports like Tianjin, Qingdao, Shanghai, Shenzhen, Xiamen, and they are not from there. They are from their home provinces. So Chinese people use these dates or these holidays to go back home, stay in touch with family, and spend time together. So that's why it's very important to understand that we have to be very careful about these dates because normally and traditionally space is getting tight in the shipping schedules in the airplanes and there's sometimes some lack of trucks. So the national holiday is the foundation of the People Republic of China, and this year is the 76th anniversary of China. So congratulations, send my regards to the people is watching me in China, and enjoy your holiday full of mooncakes. Second note is a blank sailing program is happening in the week 40 and 41. If you don't know what's a blank sailing, don't go away. I remember my face when I heard this. It was shocking for me. I will explain in a different video what's a blank sailing and what's the reason behind it. So carriers are planning to decrease capacity by 20% because the West Coast South America trade is not fully used. Other trades have an experience similar performance. However, in this channel, we will focus on the West Coast South America and sometimes on the East Coast South America trade. So the rates before the Golden Week are going down in a drastic way. So shipping lines must adjust capacity, which means reduce the supply because the demand is weak for some factors that we will analyze later. Low customs clearance in Mexico. Mexican ports are having a very heavy inspection in the terminals, and this is making importers to take longer time for clearing customs. That means extra expenses in the terminals like storage and demurrage. Normally, carriers are not responsible for the storages happening because of the delays in customs. So that's why it's very important to make sure that your procurement team has all the documents in order and all the permits like sectorial. Sensitive commodities are meant to have a more strict control by the government because they want to protect local industries. If you are having some good observations, please send us and we will analyze them. Barriers to cut capacity on the West Coast South America trade. So, what is to cut capacity? In other words, to cancel vessels. In response to the weak demand, shipping lines plan to reduce capacity on the West Coast South America trade. This move aims to stabilize freight rates amid lower export volumes. So during September, we saw a decline in the demand on the export volumes from China, and that is why shipping lines wants to adjust the supply and demand by canceling vessels. My suggestion is that you keep track on the containers that you are departing during October and during the season of the Golden Week, because it may have some delays in the transshipment ports, which is Busan. Remember that during November, some traders are importing or aiming to import some goods for the Buen Fin, which is the Mexican Black Friday. Make sure to stay very close with your freight forwarder operator or shipping line and understand if there is any change in the schedule that you're having in hand. China investigates Mexico over trade restrictions. The Chinese government has launched a formal investigation into Mexico's recent trade policies and restrictions, signaling potential tensions in bilateral trade tensions. Recently, the Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum has sent the proposal to the legislation to increase tariffs to a non-FTA countries. Wait a minute. What is non-FTA countries? In other words, it's non-free trade agreement countries, which are China, India, Korea, Indonesia, and Thailand, I think. So for these countries that are not having uh, a trade agreement with Mexico, that means that more than 1,000 HS codes will increase from 15 to 35%, even 50% for cars, which means it's a big hit and a big change in the Mexican economy. According to the data, 8.6% of the total imports of Mexico will be hit by these tariffs. And the big question is whether this is legal, this is good for Mexico, or this is bad for Mexico. We all don't know. There is a lot of noise or anxiety in the markets. Customers are getting crazy. Some buyers are planning to stop on in the wait and see attitude. So this is a very big news, and I think we will have to zoom in a very close detail in the following weeks on how this topic progress. Some additional comments about the dispute or about the raising tariffs. So the commodities that are discussing to increase tariffs are toiletries, plastics, steel, aluminum, textiles, yarn, preparation for makeups, soaps, leather, paper, and footwear, toys, which means a lot. Worth mentioning that Mexico has 14 free trade agreements with 52 countries. So if you are one of those countries with free trade agreements, you don't have anything to worry. This measure only apply for the non-FTA countries. Banxico cuts interest rates to 7.5%. Banco de Mexico, or Bank of Mexico, lowered its benchmark interest rates by 25 basic points to 7.5%, aiming to stimulate economic growth and control inflation. China launches direct breakable vessel from Suzhou to Chancay, Peru. This is big news for Peru and Chancay project. China has inaugurated its first breakable shipping service to the new Chancay megaport in Peru, strengthening supply chain connectivity and signaling growing strategic ties between China and South America. This, my friends, is gonna be the hot topic to discuss in the tracker in the following months or years, because Chancay is for me a breaking point in the relationships between China and Latin America. This is also a plan to build a railway service from Peru to Brazil, lowering the transit time from the west coast to the east coast, South America. For me, it's something that we should discuss, we should explore, and we should zoom into details. Transit time for this Suzhou to Chancay port breakable vessel is 32 days, and the frequency of the service is going to be one vessel per month. Of course, there will be other services going from Shanghai to Chancay and South China to Chancay. The plan for Chancay is it's going to be the basic hub for South America, and we will discuss more once we learn and we are connected with people there. China prohibits buying export starting from October. So recently about this news, some traders have approached to me and say, what is the meaning of this and what is the impact? So very easily speaking is some factories are in China have not the export license. So they kind of like subcontract the license of another export company. This practice is going to be totally banned from October and punished by the Chinese government. As you can see, the reforms are happening in China, in Mexico, and in each country to make sure that trade has more regulations and more strict controls. So, regarding this topic, I have some suggestions for you. If you are having already an existing business between the factory and yourself, please make sure to ask them if they comply with the full regulations about export documents. However, this can impact your supply chain in a way that cargo can be delayed or stocked in port of loading. Second is to make the amendment in your contract or add some clauses that will protect you, especially for export terms. When you find new factories or suppliers in China, you can ask them if they have the complying documents and export license. In case you are not sure if they comply or not, you can subcontract an inspection company able to visit their factory and ask their documents. Okay, excellent. This is it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video and it was useful for you. Thank you for watching and stay tuned until next time.